keep quiet. Did you mute everybody's thing? Yeah. Mute everybody. Hey everybody, this is Gaye Ann Bruno, host and producer of Between the Sheets podcast. Can't even talk. Between the Sheets podcast here on the United Broadcasting Network here in the lovely city of Burbank. You can follow me on Instagram, QTEBrat. What else? Call us, 323-524-2599. And I really don't have much to say, so I'm going to start going around the room. To my left, we have an OG from Between the Sheets, second incarnation. She's here from Rome, and that is Durga McBroom.
Hello.
Hi, Durgs.
Hi.
And then we have Solar Tan herself, even though it says Roxanne Rosen. I know her as Tristan because she's schizophrenic and has way too many names. So here we go. We've got Tristan, Roxanne Rosen.
Roxanne Rosen. Stage name.
Hello. And then to my right, we have artist extraordinaire.
Thank you.
Really?
Yeah.
You think so? I think so too. I think so. I'm a
Keep it
believer.
coming.
I'm like the monkeys. I'm a believer. Mara Shane is in the house.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Mara. Hello. So I'm trying to figure out how to put this on so I could see what the hell we're doing here. Okay. So we have these lovely interns. It's like the Doublemint twins. What's your name, guys? I forgot. Nick and Ty. So here they are. Tony. Unfortunately, our prayers and love go with Tony. He is, I don't know what city he's in. I really don't. But his sister was struggling. Unfortunately, she passed. So that's where he is. So prayers go out to Tony and his family during this time. Let's see. I don't know. Oh, the Grammys. The Grammys were good.
Yes.
They were fun. I got to talk to fun people. And then we did the Beach Boys celebration. I had no idea that Brian Wilson was like so was alive. I mean, to start with, alive. But he just sat there. But
I've worked with him.
Well, I read that he has like schizophrenia or something from all that drug stuff that he did.
I worked with him on the National Academy of Songwriters show when he was with that guy, Dr. Landry.
Yeah.
And so when he came in for rehearsals, Dr. Landry had sent a guy with a video camera to film him so that he could observe him whenever he wasn't with him physically. It was very bizarre. But Brian was really sweet. He was very childlike and kind of moody. And when he sat down to perform, he had his own lyrics handwritten in this very childish kind of scrawl. And he was really lovely.
He's sweet, but just it was kind of weird. But I yet again talked with St. Vincent. I love her. I love her so much. You even know who she is? No. Oh, fuck you both.
Oh my God, I have no idea.
Yes,
I love her.
Jesus Christ.
I do.
St. Vincent. Oh my
great.
God.
She's great.
She's amazing. She did a few years ago. I never knew who she was. I have to be honest. I didn't know who she was. But a few years ago on the Grammys, she did a duet with Dua Lipa.
Yes.
And it was freaking hot. And it was Mass Seduction and something else. And it was a mashup.
That was before the WAP.
Oh, please. We won't talk about the WAP.
I missed it.
I'm the only person who didn't know what the hell that was. But anyway, I had no idea what WAP was. I was thinking, first I thought it was WOP, and I'm like, who these bitches calling me a WAP? Why are these bitches like ragging on my people, the Italians? What the hell's wrong with these people? And then it was like WAP. I'm like, and then I told you guys the story of what that was, and I literally sat there and watched the video on YouTube, and really, I have to say, I am very open-minded.
I love that video.
I know you would.
I love
but
that video.
I
That's
was
wonderful.
I love that video.
Yes.
Yeah, good for you. But I was totally like freaked out about it. It was like the weirdest shit. I was like, oh my God. But without further ado, so because I want our guests to get involved in this conversation because I love this woman. She came on the show. I'm so excited. She's my friend. She's my friend. I have a friend that comes on the show. Her name is Dr. Karyl Ketchum. Not to be like a doctor, like here's a stethoscope. She's a very smart, intellectual woman. She has a PhD. She is the professor and department chair. I'm reading this shit because I couldn't remember it all. Because she's got her. You should see her bio. It's like 20. I mean, I'd be like doing a soliloquy. I can't do that. Professor and department chair, Senator CSUF, Cal State Fullerton, correct?
Cal State University.
Academic Senate. Wow. Her fields of interest are, as I switch, well, I'll let her tell you. You know what? She's pretty damn smart and a mover and a shaker. And I know that I will completely bastardize or somehow diminish the importance she has in the LGBT community as well as the academic community. God, I just went really serious right now. But I just want to say welcome, Karyl. Thank you to come. Thank you for coming.
Karyl.
Thanks. I'm thrilled to be here.
We are
Thanks so
thrilled to
much.
have you.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us what your specialty is.
So my PhD is in cultural studies, and my research is on gender and queer theory. I use a lot of gender theory, queer theory, some cultural studies, kind of from the Birmingham School in the UK, right now I'm not doing as much teaching as I used to because I'm the department chair, so I do a little bit more administrative kind of work. But I'm also an activist. Very committed to my activism.
Very cool.
And committed to creating systems that support women, systems that support LGBTQIA folks. And right now there's a lot of work that needs to be done for those two groups. Those two groups are truly under assault right now.
So how did you start this journey in life? Where were you born?
Are you serious?
We're going back to the beginning.
Oh, you have no idea.
Sicily,
Okay, is this
1910.
Yeah, picture it.
Not
Picture it.
1910.
No.
Not 1910.
What the hell is wrong with this woman? She's my age and we are young, so
1963 was a
yes,
very-
63 was the best year.
Yeah, I was actually born in Ohio, and I was adopted. When I was 6 months old. Yeah.
Wow.
And I grew up in Rochester Hills, Michigan, and never would have imagined that I would end up doing what I do, but love what I do and pinch myself. I'm really grateful that I get to do it.
So, when you were growing up,
I can't believe you're really asking me this, Gaye Ann. Okay, go.
we get tell her these interviews are really good. You like it.
It's like Barbara Walters.
It is
It's
Barbara Walters.
reincarnated.
Yeah, it is true. So when you grew up, obviously, well, not obviously. I mean, did you know that? And I'm going to say you identify as a lesbian. Am I correct here?
Right.
Did you know early on that you were a lesbian?
I totally did. My earliest memories are of sort of knowing that this was who I was. But also when you're adopted, you kind of occupy a sort of position of precarity in your family. Oftentimes it's the case that nobody else in the family, you don't look like anybody else in the family, right? So you're sort of obviously a kind of misfit, right? So the family that I was adopted into was Christian conservative family.
Oh boy.
And so I knew that if that part of who I was to come out, that I would that level of precarity would go sky high, and I would not have a family base to work off of. I knew that from the time I was really, really young.
Wow.
I also kind of passed as heterosexual really easily, and really my main goal at that point in my younger years was to be a mom. That's what I wanted to be. I didn't care about doing anything intellectually. Activism wasn't really so on my radar either. I wanted to be a mom, and so I was able to do that. I have 2 kids, and now I have a granddaughter too.
Yay! So,
Yeah.
going through this path, living, an easy life, but yet not an easy life because, you wanted to express yourself, and then you were adopted, and then I mean a lot of stuff which I think a lot of people in our generation sort of struggled with. Not the adoption part, but I mean like
The
coming
gay part.
out and the gay part,
gay
right?
part,
The gay
yeah,
part,
the
the
gay
big
part.
gay part. And so, did you come out late in life?
Actually, no, not really. My first experiences were with a girl, And my mom walked in on that, and that was not cool at all.
Not in a Christian
Wow.
conservative family.
At all. And
what age?
So I kind of 14, 15.
Wow.
So I kind of knew that was when I realized her reaction was really clear, and I thought, yeah, well, I that's not going to work for me in this family. But on top of it, I didn't have the imagination, perhaps, but not just the imagination. Back in at that time, there wasn't a way for you to have children if
Right.
you were in a gay relationship. I mean, there really wasn't, particularly in Rochester Hills, Michigan, which is where I grew up.
Is that pretty
So
square?
it's a pretty square town. It's a pretty it's extremely conservative town.
So when did
It's
you
just
get the hell out of Michigan?
Well, we moved out of Michigan when I was right before this incident with this girl. So it was like 13, 14 years old.
Oh,
when
wow,
we moved
okay.
to San Diego. And
Oh, a little bit better. A
Nice.
little bit better.
A
A
little
little bit
better,
better. A
maybe.
more
better.
open-minded
And
California.
My father actually was, who he passed, actually recently lost him to COVID.
Sorry.
I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
I know a lot of people have lost people that they love to COVID. So anyway, he was a progressive. He was a journalist, and he was the managing editor of the San Diego Evening Tribune for most of my years.
That's cool.
Otherwise, after 14, and so I did have support there. I knew I would have support there, but yet I didn't have the imagination to think about how could I have children, and that was my main thing. Probably, perhaps, because of being adopted as well. You know, when you're adopted, you
just want to
kind of
focus
perhaps
on
more
that. That's what I hear from
Yeah.
other friends of mine that have been adopted. But then, sort of like, what was the impetus that set you on your career path?
I went to school for art, to college for art, and when I walked into a feminist theory course, which is what we called it back in the day, when I walked into a feminist theory course, I felt like I finally was given the language to describe what I was experiencing.
See, now, we
And
went to
it
school
was
the same
huge.
time.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was taking, because I thought I was gay, but I wasn't sure. And being an only child, having the parents, having to be the one only shot for grandkids, okay, which, that was a lot of pressure there, I ended up, also taking, because I knew I took what Rutgers called women's studies.
Yeah.
And everybody looked like a
Rutgers was
lesbian.
a little bit more progressive than UC Davis then, because UC Davis, at that time they were
We had
still
women's
called
studies, and
feminist
everybody looked like a lesbian. They did.
theory. What does that mean? Look like a lesbian. What does that
It
mean?
was that typical.
I'm a lesbian.
No, but the stereotype. I'm a lesbian too, and no one knew. But the stereotypical lesbians from that generation were like, it was jeans and those checkered shirts,
Right.
and
butches.
bad hair.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
bad hair.
And I didn't identify, and I did not identify with them because I did my hair, had my makeup, I had my cute little things on, I just loved being in that energy and that environment. Which then from that I knew a couple of girls, and then as I told you, I guess a couple days on the phone, that I started the first Gay and Lesbian Alliance on the Rutgers campus.
I don't think you told me that. That's
Pioneer,
amazing.
you are.
That is amazing.
And I wasn't gay. I kept saying I'm not gay.
What did you say you were just bi, or did
Bi.
You, yeah?
Bi.
I didn't
That's
say-
what I said at
when
first, yeah.
When I was married and raising my kids, I didn't say I was gay either.
I'd say I was bi because
yeah.
that was half straight,
Half straight.
It was
I never heard of half straight before.
Even though I didn't practice any of it, it was like, I'm half straight. If I say I'm bi, it means I still can go toward the penis.
Yeah. Go towards the D. Get the D.
It repulsed me. But it's like my mother at Catholic church, they would say to her, this is true, they would say to her, is Gaye Ann married? My mother, who was such a sweetheart, but I don't know why she felt it was okay to say this in a Catholic church. She goes, no, she's not married yet, she's bisexual.
Oh, that explains everything.
Yeah, so then but you knew my mom, my mom, okay?
Yeah.
So I'd go back to New Jersey, and her and my dad were doing bingo. That's what they did, bingo. And I'd sit with all these older people and having these conversations of, so you're bisexual.
They're all men asking you.
Oh, wow.
No, the women.
Oh, the
They've
women.
got little gossipies. And I'm like, yes.
Did it go further?
B24, bingo! I mean, shit. It's like, what?
Did they get more curious, or was that the end of the convo right then?
No, No, it was the end of the convo. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like, what am I going to say?
Very
But-
nice, dear.
So when did you come out then, Gaye Ann?
I came out when I moved to California.
Well, do you identify as a lesbian now?
Duh.
Okay.
Her name is Gaye Ann.
Gay.
I told my
Your
mother.
parents are asking for
I
it.
told my mother. My mother.
She
I
had no
remember
choice.
when I
It's a
came out to
setup.
my mom. When I came out to my mom, I came out here for a lot of it to be liberated. Plus, I wanted to get into the entertainment business, so I applied to only law schools in California. So they couldn't make me stay in New Jersey. So when I came out here, I met this girl in law school, and we kind of. I mean, I'm the one. I wasn't sure. It's like I don't know if she likes me. I don't know if she is. That whole bullshit that goes on in your head, 'cause I overthink shit.
Particularly when you're young.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I
she came to
know.
my house to study, and then
Oh, this sounds nice.
and it was late. And I said, "You don't have to drive home to Anaheim." She went to Cal State Fullerton.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
all did, I
yeah.
guess.
You don't have to. Yeah,
That's
you
a
don't have to-
long, scary
You don't
drive.
have to drive home. You can stay here. But then I think we were watching TV, and I think I just suddenly just was like, I was like sweating, I was schwitzing, and I think at just one point I just went over and I just kissed her. And then I thought,
Wow.
not tongues or
Brave,
anything, just
brave.
on the mouth.
I'm proud of
Well,
you.
you must have known that you guys were vibing in that way to
I
do
didn't
that
know.
a little.
I didn't know. I didn't date. I never
Yeah.
dated. I was 20. I never dated. The only time I slept with a man is when I got raped when I moved here. But other than
Sorry
that,
about that.
you know, it's okay. It's not my fault, and I don't,
No.
you know. But it was like, and it wasn't I mean, what was? Let's not go into my opinion.
Yeah, let's.
But the point is I wasn't sure if she liked me because it wasn't about if I was gay. It's about everybody's favorite thing, rejection. And I was afraid to be rejected. Although I was pretty hot, I still am. But I mean, still, I mean, you know, I mean, but I was afraid I was going to be rejected.
So what happened?
Well, she kissed me back.
Well, there you go.
Nice.
There you go.
Nice.
And then we knocked some boots, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I guess she did, because Pillow Queen Annie, I just was, it's like, and that was fun, and then typical, we did not U-Haul it because we were in law school. She still had her place, I had my place, but eventually later, after like 2-3 years, we moved in together.
That's not a U-Haul at all, though. 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
That's
That's-
respectable.
That's normal.
But I
That's
did
good.
kiss one of my
Respectable
law
amount of
school
time.
professors who was interested in me.
Really? How did that go? I want to hear that story. That's hot.
She's passed, so,
Oh.
but
That means you can say
While
whatever
you
you
were a
want.
student? Wow.
yeah, there was a problem at the university.
Yeah, clearly.
I mean, we didn't sleep together. We just kissed.
That's
Still.
That's hot. I want to hear about that story.
Not on air.
Was it like exit class?
Not on air. Not on air. But anyway, so that's how that happened. And then when I came out. So I guess like after about 6 months I was with this girl, I called my mom in New Jersey. And my mom was like 4'8", little Italian feisty
cute.
lady.
Wow.
I'm like, "Hey,"
Miss your mom.
I said, I got to tell you something. And I remember I was on a cell phone and I was walking around the block. And she's like, "Yeah." And I said, "So, you know that bisexual thing?" "Yeah." "Yeah, well, I'm kind of not bi anymore. I've kind of made a decision, you know. I thought I'm gay." I said, "I hate the word lesbian, so I'm going to use the word gay because I like the word gay." And then she's like, it was like mic drop. And then I'm like, okay. And I said, "Well, it's your fault."
You did not.
You name a daughter gay, you're
exactly
gonna
what
have
I said, "It's your fault."
Yeah,
I said, "Before you blame yourself, which I know you're going through what I did wrong, as I'll tell you what you did. You made my freaking name. It's gay. It's a verb. It's an adjective. It's everything. It's your fault." And then I was saying it funny, you know.
Yeah.
And then she laughed because I always like to have humor to break the thing. And she's like, "But when you were born in '63, it meant happy."
It still means happy.
And I said, "Hey," I said, "and by the way," I said, you know, blah, blah. She said, "Yeah." I said, "She's my girlfriend." She goes, "I kind of figured because when I came to visit, you had 2 bedrooms and one was the guest bedroom." But she goes, but don't tell your father.
Oh wow.
Don't tell your father.
Do you think he knew though?
I never told my father. Do you know I never told my father?
Figured it out.
I'm sure he figured it out. I mean, the two girlfriends I had, they were like woodworking together while I was like filing my nails and getting a pedicure. You know what I mean? I don't know how we couldn't know. I mean, they were building shit together. But I mean, it's like, I'm sure he knew, but he didn't care. I mean, that's the second time. The first time she said, don't tell him that you're gay. And the second time when I got a tattoo. She said, don't tell your father.
Yeah.
So I remember.
And the tattoo are the
Well, I'll
same
tell you.
thing.
Yeah, and so this isn't like watch me and taking a shower, right? So I remember that they came here, and I got out of the shower and I ran because
You're hiding the tattoo?
No, I had the towel around me,
Oh.
and I was running to get my jeans in the dryer, and I'm running past him, totally forgetting I have my tattoo here. I go in, I change, and he goes, when did you get a tattoo? 10 years ago, Dad.
So was the tattoo worse than being gay?
I don't know.
I'll tell you, with my dad, he was just so happy when I told him that I was bi. I said bi at the time because that was the easiest thing to say. Of course, now it's not bi anymore either. It's damn right gay. But anyways, I remember
Damn right.
the
gay.
first thing he said was, he goes, well, I still love you. And I said, he goes, you know why I wouldn't love you? What are some reasons why what could you ever do that I wouldn't? And I'm like, well, if I was like a murderer or like, and he goes, or if you were a Democrat.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
To this day, he thinks I am a Republican.
Oh my
See, there are
God.
weird stuff with parents.
Wow.
But I mean, like when you.
That's all.
So I mean,
as long as I am, not a Democrat, he's cool with
he's
that.
cool with whatever
Wow.
you
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There seems no conflict that he would be a conservative.
He's really not. Like he's trying to be. Well, I remember he told me that he could get it, me being attracted to women, but then I told him I'm attracted to women that are very boyish, that look more like, have the guy thing. I'm not attracted to women that look like me, and he's like, it was easier for him to understand only if I was attracted to girls that he'd wanna, you know what I mean?
Hey, everybody, you're
Gross.
listening to Between the Sheets here on the United Broadcasting Network, 323-524-2599. Call in, call in, call in. Hello, Diane Bailey. Hello, Lacey Williams. Hello, Susan Esco, Nancy Worthington, Bob Farley, Donna Valdez, Valerie Milano.
Valerie.
How are you? And call in, 323-524-2599. Now, we have our new guys at the thing. When they call in, do they pop up? Okay, cool. So if they call in, we'll make time for you. But so, the long story short, when did I come out? Technically, I like sort of recognized it and practiced it starting at 20.
20.
I was a late bloomer.
See,
Wow.
I was like the exact opposite of you, because
Most
first
people are.
No, I mean my first experience was with a girl when I was actually starting at about the age of 9, and she was like 11, and
that's
she
young.
was my best friend. See, but you have to understand something. I grew up in a household. Both my parents were physicians, so and they were very Dr. Spock and very like this was
gosh,
the
Dr.
60s and
Spock.
70s.
Yeah, oh gosh,
So
totally.
they were like very open, and like my dad would leave out Playboys because he didn't want to hide them to give an idea that the naked female body was shameful. And I thank him to today for that, because I grew up thinking that the naked female body was beautiful.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Now later we found the like really skanky spank mags under the bed in the guest bedroom, but he didn't know that. But I met this girl when I was 9, and she and I became best friends. Her mom, because she was really shy, made her go through the school directory and pick someone. She said, "You're gonna pick someone. You're gonna invite them over, and they're gonna come and play with you." So she picked me. And we were like thick as thieves for a couple of years. And my parents, being doctors, I had read The Sensuous Man, The Sensuous Woman, and The Joy of Sex by the time I was 12.
I read The
my
Exorcist
God.
by the time I was 12.
Oh my gosh.
You remember that? Oh my, what are y'all reading? I mean,
Wow.
What the
oh,
hell?
hold on. There was another book my mother had. She had a stack of books by her bedside. The Exorcist was one of them. And then there was something called Jacqueline Suzanne's The
Oh,
Love
yeah.
Machine.
Oh, yeah.
What the heck is that?
Jacqueline Suzanne wrote all these romance novels that
Oh,
were
is it
basically softcore
trashy?
chick porn.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was
Wow.
hetero.
And then there
hetero.
was Scruples by Judith
Yes.
Kranz.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
God,
But-
I haven't thought about that in a million years.
I was
Yeah,
reading
totally remember that.
poetry. I
Well,
read poetry and
Well, I like
astrology.
Well, look, when I got older, I did poetry, but it was always because it was the mystique of that cabinet. It was like it wasn't like books displayed on our coffee table.
Oh,
it
I
was
know.
books on a cabinet. So I was like,
You don't want to know what we found in her mother's trash can. Oh my God, we found like hardcore porn. This
Dude,
book.
that's awesome.
In your little friends.
Yeah,
mom?
my friend's mom's trash can.
Oh,
We found this book
my.
called Chained Youth, which was about this young man who was adopted because his parents died, and it turns out that she was trans, and it was a whole. Oh my God, it was so intense. You don't want to know.
no, I don't. I really want
amazing.
I really want to unhear what you just said.
I know, it was really
I
and
need
we
to
were like kids and we
unhear
read it.
this.
But the point I was getting to was we did all this stuff until I saw my first penis.
And then that was.
And then it was like angels singing, oh, and I was like, oh my God, what is that?
Not
Well, I know what that
Not
is.
me
I want to touch it.
at
And
all.
I'm off to the races.
Banning the
God.
penis. No.
Wow. See, I was the complete opposite of all of y'all. So my neighbor, I was 5 years old. My little girl neighbors liked playing with me.
Yeah.
You
and,
mean like
like-
doctor?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, but it's like they just liked cornering me and kissing me, and I'm like,
Wow.
I didn't understand.
How old were they?
Yeah.
Her age?
Two of them were my age, and one of them was a few years older, which I kind of like wondered about that looking back at it.
Yeah.
But I always had guys falling all over me. And so I had a boyfriend in kindergarten. And so I literally had boyfriends throughout my entire life. And that was my only like female experience. And so I was always attracted to women, but I was also always attracted to men. But I felt for women that I didn't feel towards men. And then, I saw my first penis. And I'm like, that's interesting.
I saw my first penis. It scared the fuck out of me.
Well, I
I
think
was
it
like, where'd that
scared
go?
me. I was just like, I kind of just wanted to experience it. I was right before I
Oh,
turned
God.
18. I wanted to experience it. I just wanted to get it over with because I actually was attracted to my trainer. But I didn't want to have sex with the wrong person. So I picked somebody that I used to be in a relationship with, and I'm like, wow, I don't ever want to do that again. And so I told my best friend, I think I'm gay, but I don't know. And he's like, well, come out with me and you'll figure it out. We were 18. We were at a hotel party playing Spin the Bottle. It was like truth or dare.
Hotel party.
So I said dare. I mean, what do you do at 18? So
No.
And
You don't want to know what I was doing at 18. Girl.
You don't want to know where I was at 15 to 18 at all.
well, I was innocent compared to y'all. But so then he dared me to kiss a girl. And I looked at him like I wanted to kill him. And so I didn't know what to do. And she leaned in and kissed me. And I'm like, I guess I'm kissing her. And then that moment that happened that you're talking about, I didn't know that that's what it was supposed to feel like when you kiss
Well,
somebody.
that's the thing. When you feel it, you
I'm
know
like,
it.
holy
When you
Hold
cow.
on, I'm
feel
gonna
it,
put
you know it.
Hey guys, people are trying to call in, and they say that the phone recording says we're offline. Okay, sorry about that. I know. Val, thanks for keeping us honest here. The guys are working on it, but we still have about an hour left, so I'm sure they'll figure it out. The good boys that we have. But anyway, getting back to you,
Yes.
Carol.
I have a question for Karyl.
So I know, but
No,
I
no,
just I need
serious
the
question.
I need the woman to tell us what she, like. So how I just want to know what was again the impetus for you to go into the field as a professor, because you started as a professor in this field as well, right?
Yeah, I'm still a professor.
So
Yeah,
how did you get there? Like what started it?
So I walked into that feminist theory course and fell in love with the ideas there and the language there, and felt like it gave me a way to talk about my reality that I hadn't had until that time. In fact, I tell my students that it felt like the top of my head blew off, and the light finally shined in, and it was that. That was that moment for me. Was no penises.
No. No penises invited.
So, and then at that point, I fell in love with it, and I just kept learning, and I ended up getting a double bachelor's degree,
Wow.
and then went on to get my master's, and then went straight from my master's into the PhD.
And you wrote a
Loving it all
book,
the
right?
time. And I forgot it.
It's
I
okay.
realized when I was halfway here, I forgot it. Yeah, I've written many articles, and I have written a book. I co-authored it with a friend of mine, Sharon Chappelle, and we also had the input from a master teacher named Lisa Richardson, and the book is called Gender Identity and LGBTQ Inclusion in K through 12 Education. So I'm really proud to say that it's on several banned book lists.
Wow.
Which
That's good.
That's an
tells
achievement.
You,
Yep, that is
it
an
tells
achievement.
you you've done something that's challenging the status quo. I'm very interested in doing that. And it's really, I think it's an important text because it's the first one that I'm aware of that's directed at K through 12 educators and really begins and insists upon the fact that gender identity, gender expression, sexuality, and biology are different identity categories.
Yeah.
Very true.
And
That's excellent.
Yes, and you don't find that in K through 12, right? But
No.
if you talk to, for example, trans folks or genderqueer or gender expansive folks, you find out that they knew that this is who they were from this very earliest moment of a sense of self.
Of course.
That and even pre-linguistic
Yeah.
often, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that there was no kind of training like that for K through 12 teachers, or there was no kind of textbook like that, it feels like it was and is an important contribution, something I'm really quite proud of.
Absolutely.
When I was a kid growing up, there was nothing like that. We didn't know. Like, I lived in a very conservative area in Orange County, and it was just you're a boy and you're a girl. There were tomboys, but they weren't.
They were on the basketball team.
Yeah, or the soccer. They played
Yeah.
forward on the soccer
Yeah.
team. But the thing is,
That's true.
I have one specific one in mind. The thing is, though, is I didn't know anybody. This was not discussed. This was like in 1990, 1991, 1992. Like,
And where did you grow up?
This was in Orange County in, two different high schools. One was in Mission Viejo area, and then the other was in Corona Del Mar.
See, now I grew up in New York, so in New York, New Jersey. I had cousins that were gay male. And the family had no problem with it, just very whatever. But then, I went to acting school. So in acting school, there was gay guys and gay girls. So, and then when I went clubbing, there were certain lesbian bars and gay boy bars. I never went to them. I went to like the Limelight or Studio 54 and that was just anything went.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter. Okay. So I didn't grow. It's so funny because I didn't grow up with the fear of gay bashing or anything like that. But what did hit me big time was the AIDS crisis.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Are you saying that in your book it's mostly for teachers to be aware of, or is this a book that children and growing up could understand?
It's for teachers. It's for teachers.
So they just needed to know it amongst themselves. It's not like they're going to teach it to the kids, or they just needed to be aware.
If you think back to when you were in elementary school, right?
Right.
And even your earliest memories. My bet is that the teacher and those systems organized you according to gender. Even like the simplest daily, multiple times every day, boys line up over here, girls line up over there, right?
Yeah.
So that forces you to choose. And if you're a trans person or even a genderqueer person or a gender expansive person, you don't, where do you go in that case? But more importantly, it sends you a bigger message that you are not normal.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
Like the normal kids know exactly where to go.
Right.
And normal is a binary. So when we use the word normal, we automatically create another group as abnormal.
Correct.
That those two categories depend on each other. That's how language works.
Right.
And that's how power kind of sneaks in to our lives through language. We could say the same thing about whiteness and brownness, for example, right?
It's funny you bring that up because that's what I wanted to ask you about is where do you touch on intersectionality in your studies? Because I have conversations. I've gotten in huge fights with a friend of mine who's a lesbian, and I was always having her back when she was talking about, discrimination against lesbians and stuff like that. But when it came to discrimination against black people, oh, well, her issue was way more important and blah, blah, blah. And she was always shoving me under the bus. And it really pissed me off. We're not friends anymore, as a matter of fact. Because she did not get what I was saying about the intersectionality. So please speak to that.
So the discipline that I'm in is an intersectional discipline. It's an interdisciplinary discipline. We do rely on Kimberly Crenshaw's work. Kimberly Crenshaw coined the term intersectionality. She's a legal scholar. So we do some of that, and some of the folks that I teach with specialize in legal work and use her work specifically. But our discipline as a whole relies on critical race theory, and intersectionality and Crenshaw's work is a really huge and important part of that.
Cool.
Critical race theory is under attack right now.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I do actually in the current political environment, everything that I do is under attack. Everything that my department does is under attack.
Do they? Because they try to make it sound like you're pushing a political agenda.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The reality of our identities exists before this language. It exists before the political agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the problem is that we've developed, or not part of the problem, I think actually part of the solution is we now have more and more words to express all these different identities that are intersectional, that include race, class, able-bodiedness, sexuality,
Ageism.
gender identity, gender expression, age, right? We have lots and lots of, and particularly around LGBTQIA+, like I could keep going with more letters when I say that, right? We have lots of language that is developing around that now, and to my mind, there's nothing but good things that come from that, because if you don't have a way of representing yourself, if you don't see yourself represented out in the world in terms of language, in terms of images, several of you I know are involved in the industry. So if you don't ever see yourself, that's a kind of violence. That's a kind of erasure. And so the fact that we're developing more words, more language, we have the alphabet soup keeps getting longer and longer, is life affirming. It's really important. But conservatives see that as a big threat.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so here's my thing, because we've talked about this before, you and I, offline. We keep putting all these labels. I mean, we are one.
There's so many labels.
There's so many, and it's not that it's not correct to do. It's fine. Everyone has a voice. But if we continue to put labels on, I'm just talking about the LGBT plus LMNOPQLYZ community, is, how does that make us become more cohesive? It, in a way, is actually making us, separate from each other. I mean, before it was the gay guys and the lesbians. And truly, like back in the day, they didn't want us there and we didn't want them there, period. And that was always an issue because, again, we're the same. And the same in that we are, we're a diverse class. We don't stigmatize.
We're the same because we're both stigmatized.
And,
right.
We need to stick together. Okay? Then came in the B's, don't get that one still, and then the T's, which I understood, because I understand that, but then it becomes all of this, and actually Nick Casey came on. We were talking about Nick earlier. We love Nick. Nick, we love you.
We love you, Nick.
We love you, Nick. But he came on when this whole big thing started, because this has got to be like 3 years ago or more, about, gender fluid, cis, they, them, and I brought them on specifically to explain this to the panel because pronoun usage, absolutely. And and then I used to have this thing called the cuss jar. We don't cuss as much as we used to.
Really?
Yeah.
You got a cuss
Oh
jar?
my, really? We had a cuss jar. Every time someone said any cuss, it was in there because it was excessive. And I took it and I said, look, all money tonight, if once Nick explains this to us, we're going to do the show. And every time we screw up, it's $1 in the jar. We made a lot of money that night.
Wow.
And then I just took the money and, gave it to Nick. But it is, it's just hard to keep it clear. So it's like we have an agenda, but shouldn't we have an agenda as a community? I mean, do you feel that I'm asking Karyl 1 second.
Okay.
Do you feel that hinders what we're doing as a community?
So it's interesting because I hear what you're saying, and what I'm hearing. Actually, let me make sure that I'm hearing what you're actually saying, which is that how do we create a political movement around our rights if we have to have all these different labels?
Correct.
Right. So the thing is that that umbrella, that queer umbrella, where we've got LGBTQIA, and we're continuing to add identity categories to that, and who knows where it will end up, right? That the word queer will actually function as a category that everybody fits into. Not everybody is happy about that, and there's, particularly older generations in our community have experienced that word as a weapon and as a pejorative, and so that's a really difficult word for them. But this is why we have the LGBTQIA thing is there. We don't just go with queer. In other words, queer is an important label, but we're not giving up those individual identity categories either, because the truth is, just as you said, Gaye Ann, that the reality of what it means to be a white gay man in this culture is very different than what it means to be a lesbian, very different than what it means to be a lesbian woman of color, very different than what it means to be an immigrant woman. So we still can organize underneath these individual categories and create movements for our rights underneath these individual categories, but we also can come together under these larger umbrella terms like queer or LGBTQIA plus and support each other in that way. So we need to have both of those things. There's a parallel here with, if you think about the 1970s feminist movement, there's a kind of parallel. So the 1970s feminist movement was a lot of the rallying cries then for women's rights were things like, I want the right, we want the right to work outside the home, right? And then women of color come in and are like, what the F? We've been working outside the home forever. This is not a movement for us, and we're women too.
Right.
And so there was this kind of way in which the idea of woman, this label of woman, was challenged at that political moment. And what folks like Audre Lorde and other feminist women, and primarily women of color feminists, provided for us at that moment was the idea that, yes, to organize under the term woman is to risk erasing, but at the same time, we have to strategically come together under the rubric of women in order to get our rights. So that kind of strategic essentialism was what the idea that they brought to that was.
Okay, hold on. Because the phone is not working, I said someone's been texting and I'm sorry, Robin Tyler, who, if anyone doesn't know Robin Tyler, seriously, like you shouldn't.
You need to know.
You need to know, and you're not a lesbian. I don't know what the hell you are. So, Robin.
Yes.
I'm going to put you're on speakerphone. I don't know if you can get this, but why don't you speak your question?
Okay, well, basically what I was, it's a question and an answer. When Karyl was talking about everybody being in the tent, and which is right, everybody should, because the more people we have, the stronger our resistance is to anybody that is discriminating against us. So more is better. What lesbians are afraid of is that they will get lost in the bigger, a lot of times the dominant culture takes over. For instance, gay men, there was a focus on gay men. And what I want to ask Karyl is, I don't know if you did this before, but you wrote a great article about the word queer, which of course, being an older dyke, I hated. But you wrote, but because when we were called queer, that's when they were chasing us down the street to beat us up, right?
Yeah.
Except we weren't running. But basically, Karyl wrote this brilliant article about the word queer and why the word queer is good, even though it shouldn't substitute. So I wanted to know if you could talk about the word queer, Karyl.
Yes, yeah, I can.
Okay.
Thanks, Robin.
All right.
Yes, if you don't know who Robin Tyler is, you really must find out who Robin Tyler is, and you can look her up on Wikipedia and read a lot about what she has done. But she's a trailblazing lesbian and marriage equality. We owe her a great debt when it comes to marriage equality.
Absolutely.
We owe her a great debt when it comes to our rights generally, because she led the marches on Washington, D.C. that were so influential in the 70s and 80s. So, yeah, the word queer is, it is a pejorative. It does hurt for certain generations. When we started the Queer Studies minor at California State University, Fullerton, my colleague, Dr. Chris Beals, and I, Chris is in psychology, it was very interesting because the discipline has gone toward the use of the word queer. And when, as an intellectual discipline, we're talking about the word queer, we're not talking about it in terms so much of as an identity category, but rather as a kind of critique of normativity. So queer theory looks at the way in which ideas around normal have been constructed, who has benefited from those ideas around normal, and how they are a cultural and a social construct, right? So the other way that folks in academia are using the word queer is as a kind of verb, like queering the discipline. So, for example, let's just take art history. If we look at art history is the history of white heterosexual men. That's what you see in the art history books. Still to this day, you see very few people and very few work that reflects any other kind of a paradigm other than white heterosexual men. But if we queer that canon, then we begin to look at artists of color. We begin to look at reimagining museum spaces, even. So that then you're walking through a museum, you're not just confronted with one particular kind of history, which is a really violent colonial history also. So we want, through this term queer and the idea of queering, we talk about changing who gets a voice in culture and changing the stories that are being told. So the queer theory comes in at a moment when colonial theory is changing the way that we think about our past, when we are getting interventions in literature and interventions in science, and it provides a kind of platform through which other voices can finally begin to be heard, other than white heterosexual male voices.
I know you had something to say, Dirk.
Yeah, I was going to say that when you are talking about all the different terms or with LGBTQIA+, self-identification is so important. And because so many people have been forced to conform to one thing or another, to finally be able to say, wait a minute, this is me. This is who this is my truth and how I describe myself. To have as many shades of the palette as you need to do that is really important. I mean, to go back to something as simple as like when James Brown came out with I'm Black and I'm Proud. To not be called something that somebody else called us. To not be colored. To not be Negro. We wanted to call ourselves Black. That was very empowering. So for somebody to say, you know, I'm genderqueer, I'm gender fluid, I am trans, I am lesbian, I'm, you know, and all the different shades of that beautiful rainbow is so powerful to be able to finally say, I've been wondering who the hell I am for my whole life, and this is who I am.
It is great. I think it must be so great for, or easier, maybe, I could be wrong, for the Generation Z, the millennial, not so much millennials, but Generation Z, just because it's not such a shocker because it's so out in the open. I don't know if it's not as out of the open if you were like Midwest. I don't know if they're, you know, really, but where we live, it sure is out in the open. And it's nowadays, I think, like almost it's normal if I were to go talk to some 13-year-old girls or 14-year-old girls and go, oh, I don't go, do you have a boyfriend? I just, so is there someone that you're interested in? And sometimes I go, or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. And you know, in my day, not that I'm that old, but I do remember that was not an option. No.
Yeah.
It's not it.
And eventually, it's not going to matter at all.
I hope so. I mean, that would be really nice.
That's kind of where we're headed.
But you know what? You know, we all grew up, well, not you two as much. You and I, Robin, amazing, you know, male kudos, trailblazer for all of us. But you know, Robin sort of started the train in her generation, you know. Then there was our generation. I mean, you know, when I came out here, I marched for ACT UP. I did all of that. People I knew were here today, gone tomorrow, you know, with the AIDS crisis. So, and but I mean,
I lost a few.
But it has gotten better. So by no means, you know, like, you know, I think, and if Robin, you know, keep me honest, but I think in Robin's generation, I think if you were gay and you went to a gay club, it was illegal. I know this as a fact. It's Stonewall. So it was illegal. And then I had another friend or a woman who owned a bar in the Valley, and she said that when they used to go to bars, that if they saw the cops coming or the doorman, that a red light would go on. And
what?
Yep. And there would be like, and the men and women, like, would switch so it all looked like they were straight couples.
Wow.
I mean, when
Wow.
when I was there,
I wish Robin was still here. She has stories.
I'm sure she does. Well,
for
Robin's
sure.
going to have to come on the
Yes,
show.
she
So
needs to.
what happened is, so we, my generation, Carol's, we took it to the next step, and then, we have gotten farther, but by no means because of the political agenda
I
keeping us back. That it's going to take us a while to get to where, as you said, it won't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw the Hulu special with Cara Delevingne. You guys see that Planet Sex?
No.
Oh, it's great. Cara is a really gorgeous model. She's a total gender bender. I can totally see the boy in her. And she has like a 6-part thing on Hulu called, it's like a documentary where she tries to figure this all out. And she's all over the world interviewing all sorts of the queer community. And that was very interesting. But what I like to find out is, why is it so hard for people to separate gender from sexuality? What is it? Is this the fact that you have a penis or you have a vagina? Ew, I hate saying those words. But no, is that like the reason why you can't, like, why people can't separate sexual? It's not a sexual thing. Gender's different. It's not the same thing, and I don't understand why that's so hard for most people.
I do.
The
get.
collapse.
Yeah. Why?
It's because we're so used to thinking in a binary paradigm. That's why.
No, and what were you going to say?
That is right.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
absolutely right. But the collapse is actually even sort of bigger than that. It's even worse than that. It's not just sexuality and gender.
Mhm.
It's like the collapse happens with gender identity, which is in your head, right? Gender expression, which is the way that you manipulate the signs and the symbols of culture to indicate to others who you are.
Like presentation.
My hair, my makeup,
Right.
right. So that's gender expression.
Mhm.
So gender identity in your head, gender expression, this kind of way in which you construct your visual self and also your voice, and sexuality, what turns you on, and then biology.
Right.
Yes.
All those things are different, and
Yes.
none of those are a binary. None of
Yeah.
them.
None.
Even if we go to biology, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
We often say, okay,
Crazy.
male or female. The fact of the matter is that there's lots and lots of biological variation in there, and your biology, your gendered biology, your female and maleness, including hormones, right?
Mhm.
Those change dramatically over your lifetime.
Right.
Yeah.
So the collapse is
interesting.
huge. The collapse is way worse than just gender and sexuality. And how we begin to tease those things out, I think, is really
It's so
important.
complex.
It is.
And that's the problem. People don't see. Some people do not have it within them to see how complex it is.
Because it's easier not to. It's
Yeah.
easier
Power.
not.
It's power over here with your guy.
But it's
Well,
easy-
it goes back to also the binary thing.
Correct.
Binary,
Yeah.
Our brains love binaries.
Yeah.
They are very lazy ways of thinking.
Yeah.
But we rely on them. So someone's walking toward you, you just instantly, you're even unaware of the fact that you are dropping people into these binary categories. Oh, man, woman, gay, straight,
Right.
tall, fat. You're putting
You need to
people in all
classify
kinds of
them.
boxes.
Yeah. Mhm.
All kinds of boxes.
For comfort
and
level.
that's because our brains are lazy.
Yeah. Oh.
And
Our
we
brains
don't
are
have
lazy,
the
or-
language, we don't have the language that's pushing them, or
Yeah.
we're developing the language that's
It's
pushing
not
them
just
now.
our brains.
Okay,
are
hold on.
lazy.
We have a caller.
Okay.
I can't believe it.
Yay.
Tell me when they're on.
Good job,
Hey,
guys.
good job. This is Gaye Ann. Welcome to Between the Sheets. Who's calling? Hello?
Uh-oh.
Anyone?
Are they still there?
Going once.
There's the volume up for their thing? Did they hang up? Hold on. I don't get it. I don't know. Hang up on them. I don't know. I'm sorry. I have no idea. We had a caller and now we don't. But continue.
We'll try again.
We'll try again.
I was going to say it's not just that we're lazy. It's because the people who have been on top, namely white Eurocentric males, have made it such a priority that they are at the pinnacle that anything that is not them is not
That's
paid attention
patriarchy, right?
Yeah, of
straight old
course.
patriarchy.
Completely.
to. Basically.
Yes. Yeah, and the fact that we think quickly and that we think through binaries, just like kind of a computer thinks through binaries, kind of makes it even more complicated to get out of that
Right.
paradigm. But you're totally right. The white, non-white, that just from that the beginning of that binary.
Yeah.
Even, who is marked as powerful and who is marked as powerless. And the folks who are marked as powerful through a binary category depend on the folks who are marked as powerless staying powerless
Right.
in order for them to continue
That's
to
why
have
you
access
rock
to
the
that power.
boat. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
rocking the boat. They don't like that, and of course
Yeah.
they're threatened by it.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
any powerful smart woman still in this country is still making less
Yep.
than a man. And they may be way more educated, but because still in this paradigm here that I don't know, I'm sure every other country too, but it's still that white male.
Because like in many Native American tribes, they recognized at least 4 different genders.
That's correct.
And that was natural.
Since when?
For
All of the time?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Two-spirit is one of the categories that
Yeah.
they've used, right? They have lots of different words.
Spirit?
This is also part of it. Like, if you only have the language to reflect a binary category, then that's all you, like, language forms the limits of our
Right.
understanding. It forms the limits of our world.
Yeah.
So this is, again, why having all these words, these new words, is really such an important contribution.
Okay, hold on, I have a caller. Hey, Val.
Hey.
This is Val Milano.
Yay.
Hi, Val.
Hello?
Yes,
Hello.
speak, my friend.
Hey. Hey, I heard, Karyl, that I need to call you Dr. Karyl Ketchum.
No, Val, you don't have to do that.
Hey,
Thanks,
I want to
darling.
know what a typical day in your life is. I know you do so much.
Oh, you're a doll. Well, you do so much too, Val. So much for our community. Thanks for all that you do. A typical day. I don't even know. After COVID, is there a typical day? I don't even know. Oh my God. We went. I went from being on campus most days during the week to we're still really not on campus in the way that we were before. There's still a lot of Zoom kind of stuff going on right now. So I don't know that we've landed on new
How many
normal.
boards are you on?
Oh, well, that's something I can really talk about. So, thanks, Val. One of my, I've served on a number of boards, and the latest board that I'm serving on that I'm very excited about is the Desert AIDS Project. Or formerly called the Desert AIDS Project. Now it's called DAP Health. And DAP Health is quite a famous organization back in the terrible days of HIV in the 70s, in the 80s and 90s. The Desert AIDS Project was the first clinic to really be taking care of the gay community. And they set the standards. They are still around. They've grown into DAP Health. So they're no longer called Desert AIDS Project. They're now called DAP Health. And DAP Health, I just recently joined their board, and I'm very excited to say that they have a women's health initiative that we are rolling out. It's really, I think, an exciting time to be out in the desert. I have a place out in the desert. I go back and forth, and my plan is, as I'm 59 right now, my plan is that I will retire out there in the desert. So I'm very interested in being involved out there, creating a women's community, creating health care for women out in the desert and in the valley area. DAP has lots of really interesting and exciting things in the works when it comes to expanding their services. And so this is a really big passion of mine.
And if anybody is around in Palm Springs, you can go to the DAP website. They are having a gala on March 25th. I got my tickets. And actually make it a fun-filled weekend because you go to DAP on Saturday and Robin Tyler's show on Sunday. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the award and what the gala is about?
Yeah, so the DAP Gala, the big gala that DAP does every year, is called the Stephen Chase Humanitarian Awards. And it's probably the most elegant event out in the desert. I would say that it definitely is the most elegant event out in the desert. They bring in entertainment from Broadway.
Wow.
The food is fantastic. The entertainment is spectacular. Our gay brothers show up in their finest, and they look marvelous. And the women there are beautiful as well. It's just a fabulous, fun, and entertaining evening. And that, yes, as Gaye Ann says, that this year is March 25th, and it's going to be a lovely, wonderful time. The tickets are on sale now, so you can reserve tickets now if you go to the DAP Health website.
And Karyl, I know you're writing another book.
Yeah, I am. The book that I'm working on now is kind of a passion project. So I've gotten tenure, and now I'm a full professor. So I'm kind of to the point now where I don't need to do anything that has to be published in a particular press. I can publish wherever I want to and do the kind of work that I've been kind of putting off while I was on the treadmill of having to publish or perish. So now that I'm done with that, I'm working on a book about Arabella Huntington, who is a pretty controversial figure and of the Gilded Age. She was born in 1850, and I don't want to talk too much about it because I'm waiting to get my publisher all dialed in before I do that.
Nope.
But I'll tell you that it's a passion project, and she was a fascinating woman and a very controversial woman, and I'm very excited about it. So thanks for asking.
Well, you're welcome, Karyl Ketchum. But even more importantly, we're talking again. We have these pretty cool conversations about building a community. Because when we were talking today about the DAP awards and what the DAP does, it is about building, in a way, a community in the desert where women are flocking to more. Because it used to be, I mean, we all know this, whoever's been to Palm Springs, as old as I am, it was always where gay guys went, white gay guys. Mm-hmm. And that was it. And now a whole bunch of my friends, women, they're all moving to the desert. And it's wonderful. So it's like, I was telling Karyl, I just want to buy a piece of land and just...
I love this idea.
I want to buy a piece of land, this huge piece of land, and... and have my friends move on this land, and we can all sort of have a community of like minds, and just like the TV show Virgin River, but with lesbians. You know what I mean? I mean, you didn't see the Virgin River?
No.
It's very nice. It's like it's like Little House on the Prairie and the Waltons, but really a nice show.
Wow, I'm
Girl,
not sure those are
girl.
nice.
It's a nice show.
Have you ever lived in a situation like that?
I have.
We don't go camping. Come on.
It's not camping.
I don't camp.
For Christ's
I don't know what
sake,
you're
people.
talking about.
I'm saying
Camping
it's
is not-
Palm Springs. I'm not saying it's in BF nowhere.
Well,
Okay.
you made it sound like it's like some kind of like
No, but
communal-
it's that huggy, touchy, feely in a very nice
Touchy?
way where you would never be invited there.
She'd be totally invited.
She would so
I'd
not
be
be
the
invited.
first one. I'd be like, hi.
You wouldn't be invited. But it would be to have a sense of community because there are some of us, like for me, I don't have family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There, and then as we talked about, just because you have kids doesn't guarantee
Right.
your kids are going to take care of it. But quite frankly, why would you want to be a responsibility for your children?
No, I
you
would
know?
really like Golden Girls. I want
That
to
sounds
have
like
my
cool.
crew.
But that's the thing. It's
Yeah,
Golden Girls.
definitely.
That sounds like cool. That sounds cool.
You know, so then that's
As
one
long as
thing.
they're houses and not like tents or something.
No. It
Yeah.
would have to have electricity
100%.
and
Thank you.
shower
Okay.
and
Oh,
water.
does
I'll
anyone
give you
on
the
you
solar.
know what? Does
You know?
anyone on this panel know me?
Yes.
No,
I
I
know
need
that.
my makeup. I
Yeah.
need
Right.
my clothes. I
Right.
need a shower daily. I have. If you look at my house, I've got a whole cabinet full of hair products. Okay, so no, this one does not go camping.
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
good.
Glamping.
Okay.
No,
I
Glamping,
like
maybe.
camping. I've
No.
been camping in the
I
desert.
don't
but
Remember
care.
when I
that
told
way,
you
no.
I didn't even know when I was like at my first gay pride back in like I don't know 2007, and I went to use one of the outhouses there, the line of
Lord.
outhouses,
Yeah.
and my friends were right outside for me, and I only went in there to use the mirror, which I thought there would be a mirror.
Really?
And I was like, this one's broken. This one's broken.
Oh,
What's up with
no.
these?
Oh no.
Yeah.
No.
I was really sheltered.
So you should have known me then because we would have had the backstage
Yeah.
pass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Karyl, where do you see you moving forward? Where you in the position that you are now, making more of an impact? What are the barriers that you personally have that would like to sort of push?
Well, I wanted to return to this anyway. Something I think that Mara said a few minutes ago about the Generation Z, and I think that the one of the most important places that we as a community can be sort of putting our energy is to create a world that is deserving of this generation that's coming up. And I say that because the Williams Institute, which is at UCLA, somebody was did you?
I went to UCLA.
UCLA, yes, the Williams Institute, which is a really they're doing important research and important data gathering for our community. And one of the things that they have told us is that about 38% of Generation Z identify as queer.
Wow.
Yeah, no,
really?
I
Great.
thought it was 50%.
It's 32 to 38 depending on
Wow.
which
I love
exactly
that.
the
That's
demographic.
amazing.
Nice.
It is amazing, and I want to create a world that is deserving of that generation,
Yeah.
right? That they're critical thinkers. They were raised on principles of social justice. They're also the group that is struggling the most right now with mental health issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Harvard just released their mental health statistics this past week as well, and a third of girls and 40% of LGBTQ students in Generation Z, so 15 to 25, they are struggling with mental health issues to the point that they have regular thoughts of taking their own lives.
Yeah. And it's weird
So-
because you think that that in this day and age where everybody seems to be so enlightened, like this stuff is discussed where it was not discussed back in the 90s, the 80s and the 90s, but yet it doesn't seem to matter. Maybe there's a lot more at stake here with why they're so depressed.
So, I mean, yes, it's discussed here in this room. It's discussed in some places in Southern California, though probably not in Corona Del Mar and Newport Beach or Mission Viejo where you were at.
Yeah, I don't think they have that.
But
Maybe.
think about what's happening with DeSantis in Florida.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
The
that was
pushback.
gay.
The pushback,
like,
exactly.
You can't even say the word gay?
What?
Does that mean? Yeah, that's what Ron DeSantis
Yeah.
is saying. He's saying that he wants to outlaw the word. No,
Are
don't
you
say gay.
kidding
Well,
me?
Okay, I didn't hear
Don't
that.
He doesn't
say
want
gay in the
teachers-
state of
Why
Florida.
aren't all the
Yes.
gay
The
people just be
teachers-
like, bitch, please? Are
Yeah.
you, are
They
you
are.
They are.
They are.
They are.
Good.
I
Yeah,
think
this
that
is for
he felt
for teachers in education. That's right. That he doesn't want. He wants to ban the word gay in education.
up
That's
to
just
sixth grade
absurd.
or
I thought
elementary.
He
all
must
public
be gay.
education.
Yes.
at all levels.
Absolutely.
He has to be
Absolutely.
gay.
And he is running for president.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
He is going to be on the Republican ticket. So what does it mean if you're a gay kid or genderqueer kid or gender expansive? You don't quite fit into the gender binary in Florida. Now we're back. You used to be able to
Right.
be represented. You used to see yourself in the systems of representation around you. You used to appear in language. Now all of a sudden, your teachers are being told that you can't even say the word gay.
Yeah, they can't
that's
even be
even
there
banned.
for their
That is
kids.
violent. That is
Yes.
incredibly
Terrible.
violent.
Absolutely.
So we can see from that these mental health numbers flow directly from that kind of a thing. And it doesn't just affect young people in Florida because this is a national dialogue. now.
Right.
Right.
The don't say gay thing
It's-
is something that we're talking
yeah.
about at a national level. And the Republicans are rallying their political base by using this kind of division and this kind of hate rhetoric.
Yes.
I'm waiting for it all to come to a head because it's got to. I prefer to look at this as the last gasp of a dying breed and that they're screaming bloody murder because they know it's inevitable. They are going to be outnumbered. It's inevitable. But I want to address something that I would love to see the LGBTQIA plus community deal with. There is a hell of a lot of racism within that community. And you were saying, you want gay men to support lesbians and likewise. Well, why is it then that there is so much racism within the gay community? Pisses me the fuck off. Excuse me. Okay, I'll put something in the jar, but I don't care. Because I meant what I just said.
It's $100.
How is it that we're all marginalized and there's still that damn hierarchy? It's infuriating. So I would love to hear from you ladies.
I'm going to say there's hierarchy in anything. There's hierarchy in the Latino community. There's a hierarchy in the African American community. There is a hierarchy in the LGBT plus community. This is my point, this is my big point, is that anyone that's in a marginalized group, okay, we are discriminating with our own, within our own. So why don't we all join together? This is my kumbaya moment, okay? So, just because you're Spanish from Spain doesn't mean that someone from Salvador is, crap.
Colorism.
Colorism. So, this is the whole big thing is, why does each subsection discriminate amongst themselves, even in the LGBT community? So it's like, why can't we just all get
because
together?
there
You know
will
why?
always be ignorant people, always.
Well, it's by design.
And I
And,
Divide and conquer.
and non-acceptance. Non-acceptance. They don't
It's
even
fear.
accept themselves.
It's
That too.
fear. Yeah.
And if everyone started accepting themselves and loving themselves for who they are, they would stop judging less than or more than and just love.
But how do you judge who you are when, as Karyl is saying, in the news and having these jerks telling you you're not good, or
Right.
there's something wrong? So it's this catch-22.
Well, I love the language of I love that you're using the language of
It's-
love, right? I love
It's
that
just
you are.
it's the
It
inner
seems so
child
simple,
work.
doesn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It's we all have to do our inner child work and our spirituality, because it's if look, we all get discriminated on. I get discriminated on. It's tough. It's tough. I'm a female-owned business owner, and my life is tougher.
But you know what?
But
I'm
I don't
going to interrupt.
care.
But you're not going to be discriminated. You're going to be less discriminated on the hierarchy if there was someone doing what you're doing that was Hispanic or that was a person of color.
Well,
and that's what Durga's
well,
point
I-
is why within the LGBT community do we discriminate against
Because we're all discriminated on, and
Doesn't mean
we
you have to do it.
have to go ahead and do our inner child work and heal our wounds and love ourselves and accept ourselves. And when we do that, that will just radiate everywhere, and that's what's going to change. Love is going to change, acceptance is going to change, and that's how that happens.
I love that you're saying that, and I think that if we all did that inner work, like that is an empowering thing. It's certainly the last couple of years of my life I've been able to do some of my own inner work, right? But it doesn't change the institution and the
Nope.
systems around us that are based in white supremacy.
Yep.
This whole country and our whole national identity is based in white supremacy. Our entire history is based in white supremacy.
Correct.
And if you still look out at the institutions and who's running the institutions, including my own university, including Congress, including the Senate, you look out there and who's running it, it's run through white supremacist ideologies and white supremacist structures. And
Heteronormative
that is
as well.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, the back to intersectionality, right? So all those things intersect. And what's happening right now politically, where white supremacy, heteronormativity, nationalism, Christian nationalism, these are the rallying cries behind the Republican Party, and so they're stirring all that up. They're making that stronger. They're making that they're leveraging that hate and really that fear, right? Because there's only really love and fear. There's two emotions. There's love and there's fear. So they're stirring up. They're using this language of white supremacy, heteronormativity, white Christian nationalism to stir up all that fear, and then say, "We're going to save you. Come over to us. We're going to save you. We can band together, all of us that are white, all of us that are heteronormative, and we can have our own party and we can begin to run this country."
Right.
And I like that too. And so yes, individual inner work is powerful and important, but we also have to look out at these larger systems and structures, because they will continue to run on their own if we don't start tackling those in a really focused kind of a way.
But if we were coming all from a secure place within, we could start breaking those systems and structures down.
I'm sorry. I
That's
just
never
got to
gonna
say
happen.
something. I know that we need to do inner work and love ourselves, but sometimes you just got to get mad.
I understand
I
that.
think if we
Yeah.
all got together and said, no, we are not going back to the 1950s. We are not going to go back into the closet. We are not going to go back to the plantation. We are not going to accept this from you. And actually, in actual fact, you guys are the minority now. And that's what they're really terrified about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
That's true.
This is such an important idea. And in the classroom, when I'm teaching intersectionality in my classroom, it's really easy for students, or it's really tough rather for students to see that big picture, right? Like I can say, okay, well, white supremacy is alive and well in our country. In fact, it's the basis upon which our entire sense of nationalism is built. and they can sit, and then I'll have a student inevitably say, well, I have a friend who's black, I have a friend who's Asian, they're super wealthy, they live, in this gated community, and so racism is dead, and white supremacy is not is a thing of the past. And then what I say to them is, yes, that's real information. I believe you that you have this friend. But when we back up and look at this big picture, we take a macro lens look at the culture and the country that we're living in instead of a micro lens look, instead of looking at individuals or even individual communities, but look at these large numbers and large data sets. What we see is that white folks, their lives, their reality is a world of difference from somebody who's a person of color, a woman of color, a gay person, someone in the black community, right, that is being so ravaged by police violence. So, it's and to hold both of those ideas at the same moment, that we can do our inner work and love, and it would make a difference. Gosh, I believe you that it would. I don't know how we actually make that happen, though. And in the meantime, we've got people in communities that are being shot by the police at unprecedented rates, right? And so holding both of those things, I think, is important. Believing in love is where that hope comes from for me too.
I think we all here do.
We don't have time to depend on
It's about raising.
individuals.
We need to raise our vibration up.
Well,
You're
yeah.
sounding like
You
fucking
know,
Sheena,
we
and I
just-
love you, Sheena. But you know what? That is the basic shit that we all have to work on, okay? Because
Yeah.
this is rhetoric
We
right
do.
now, okay? I'm the first one that's peace, love, understanding. I mean, I've written papers on it. I've done it. Okay, the show is predicated partially on this.
Yes.
Okay, so it is not that it's like going to battle with a butter knife. That's what it is. It's the spirituality and this love, and that's where I'm centered. Okay, but you can't fight. If you want to fight, you've got to get your hands dirty, and you've got to be willing to speak up. And sometimes it's not going to be out of love, because out of pain comes love. And unless you express your pain, love is nowhere. Otherwise, it's just someone that's total bullshit, a hypocrite. Love, peace, and happiness. No, unless you suffer and you have been pained, that is how you grow, and that is how you love, and that is what gives you the balls to fight. Just saying.
One word: Stonewall.
Exactly. So, I mean, and I guess maybe this is because it is your generation. Your generation didn't really have, hey, look, pain is generational, okay? And it happens with the African American community, black community. It even happens with the gay community. All those lives and all those people that died, all that is breeded from one generation to another. And maybe I'm just a little where I am, because my generation was in the middle. It was all of this, and at my generation with the AIDS crisis, it started the breaking point to actually start to move forward into something where we are now. And it's really sad to say that that's. How old am I? Oh,
You're
God,
59,
almost
'cause you're the
60.
same age
Oh,
I
my
am.
God. It was like, 40 years ago. So, I understand it, and I preach it, and I think the inner child. I go to therapy. I do sound baths. I believe in it. It's not just bullshit. But you really need to hear what's going out there. I mean, people like Karyl, they're really more important than, someone, with a tambourine saying, do your inner child.
I understand that there's a time to fight. I trust me. I've fought in many movements in my life in the LGBT arena since I was young, and I really do get that. And I do get that we have to stand up and we have to battle. However, we also need to just be centered and not and heal from that pain as well. So there should be a balance.
But how can you be centered when the people calling the shots and doing this are purposely making sure we're not centered?
Pushing you off balance.
Yep. So
well, do we allow? I get that there's something that we need to do, and I get that we have to throw them from power. And if we sit and collectively think about how to do that versus allowing them to have power over us and be upset. Because right now, they're not upset over us. Why are we going to give them the power to let us be upset?
I understand what Roxanne said.
So it's like if I'm upset, that means they won. I allowed them to have the power over me to win to be upset.
But
So how do we strategically
what do you
come
do?
together?
I mean,
to
if they're
come together?
upset and you're not, if they're doing this and you're upset, then what do you do? How do you make a change? And don't tell me it's because you have to be centered.
Well, I think we need to strategically get together and figure that out. And I think we do
And that's
need to
my point.
come together and sit, but we don't have to do it through anger. We could do it through like collaboration, sit and figure it out, get some petitions going on. Get people in each major metropolitan area and every single state and just get a movement going.
Okay, Robin Tyler, power is never given, it has to be taken.
Yep.
And that is the truth. That's the
Sometimes
truth.
righteous anger is the most powerful tool you can have.
And I'm not saying we go there and it's going to be like this whole militia, like LGBT plus every LGBTQ militia, knocking on their doorsteps. That's why, there are people that are intelligent, and everybody is a bit of intelligence, and it's about a collective.
Yeah,
And
it's a collective.
And it will not change overnight. In 40 years, it's changed a lot, and maybe the next 40 years, I'll be dead. But maybe the next, you report it to me though when I'm up there, okay?
Why don't we do that? Why don't we start a movement? Why don't we start it here? Why don't we start a movement and go to every single state and find all the LGBT in every single state and let's start a movement?
Well, we got to find more than just that.
Yeah.
Movements are happening.
Yep.
I am so horrified by the police violence right now, right?
Yeah.
And the Black Lives Matter movement, that is a effing movement.
Mm-hmm.
That is a force.
Uh-huh.
It is terrifying. The folks that understand themselves as being under threat by that movement, folks that identify through white supremacy,
Hello.
folks that get their power through whiteness. The Black Lives Matter movement is terrifying to them, and I want to believe the same thing. I want to believe that some of this violence that we're experiencing right now, some of the rhetoric coming out of conservative corners of our country, is about this last gasp, right?
Right.
That they're terrified.
Yeah.
And the Black Lives Matter movement, these other movements for social justice, immigration movements, that they are so frightened by those that now they're like grasping at everything and throwing out all the hate that they can possibly throw out, right? But the fact that they have institutions that are complicit with their hatred, and that these, like policing, and that they walk around with guns, and that they so often have historically been able to enact violence and take someone's life away with complete impunity, is still really terrifying to me. And that's still happening, right? I mean, even with cameras, even with body cameras now, that's still happening. That they're
absolutely
taking away lives. But there is a movement. There is one, and we can jump in and be a part of that movement.
Okay, so basically we need to take accountability. What are we doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are we all doing? It's like, let's take accountability and let's move forward.
Question.
Let's stop talking
But
and move
we are.
forward.
I mean, we're all awesome people. We're all doing it. Karyl's doing it her way. Mara does it in her art. I do it in my show. I also, am one of the big loudmouths in the entertainment business for LGBTQ rights. I served on boards just like Karyl, So, I mean, it's not like not all of us are sitting here in armchair quarterbacks. I hate sports. I don't even know if that's the right thing. But I mean, armchair quarterbacks where you just sit back and watch and have somebody else fight the fight. I've been fighting since I've been 22 years old. And I don't mean fight
Same here.
in a way.
Yeah.
I've been on the front lines. But, and I'm not ever going to stop. Give me a mic. Give me a forum. I'm there.
I say let's create it.
I am creating it.
We are. We're all.
I don't
trying
even
to-
say
every day.
we are creating it. Every day that we take a breath and we stand up and you make a post on your Facebook page or an Instagram, because social media is insane. The minute you're taking power and you're giving yourself a voice.
I'm fighting with people every day. If you look on my Facebook page, it's the OK
That
Karyl.
is true.
It's the OK Karyl.
You follow, like, really, you gotta see Durga. Durga's Facebook page is one of the most entertaining places. It's better than Disneyland. But why I know we can go on forever, and it has it's almost what? Oh no, I'm good because I'll tell you what'll happen.
Okay, tell us.
Tell it. I'm winding down the show now, so I'm just giving our lovely. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate both of you. This is to come here because you're handsome young boys, and this is a long weekend, and
Young
yours.
men.
I like boys, men, and you're spending this day with me to help me. So I do appreciate you both, and thank you so much for everything that you've done tonight. So thank you. Thank you for making the show go on the air. But I just want to say thank you, everybody, for joining us. Yet it's a heated and not heated conversation, but it's always done, and always at the root of love. It's always at the root of love. It's always at the roots of growth. Fear is a horrible thing, but we all have it. And we just have to keep pushing forward because without fear, there's no growth. Without questioning, there's no change. And that is, again, a collective is great. But just because, you could be in, Missouri, God forbid, but you could be in Missouri,
Or Florida.
or Kansas, or Texas, or Arizona, anywhere, your voice does matter. And, it is about a collective. The collective can be done in person, but a collective can be done and you can feel empowered and you can feel supported. Thank God for social media. You will never have to feel alone. You'd never have to feel alone anymore. And for those of you that are struggling, I encourage you to reach out. Have your voice. You just can't quiet yourself. There's no reason to. And I really, just want to say you'll find peace. Art, I'm a big proponent of art. If you can't find an expression, create an expression. Writing, your thoughts. Your thoughts are the most powerful things. And when written, it is powerful. And it's vomiting. It's vomiting your feelings. And I just want to say, again, just bottom line, you're never alone. Reach out. Just always reach out. And if you can't reach within yourself, as Tristan was saying, and write your thoughts down. Video yourself. Do YouTube. It's all good. Just find an expression and don't torture yourself. There's a lot out of life that you need to experience. So on that note, I just want to say thanks for joining us, and we'll go around the room. Durga McBroom, where can people find you?
On Facebook, Durga McBroom. Instagram, Durga Diva. I'm around.
She is. When are you going back to Rome?
I have to go to Washington for 2 shows, Washington State, March 10th and March 23rd. Then I come back here, and I go back to Rome on March the 27th.
I think I'm going to join you at Carla Collins' show.
Yay!
Hey! And then we have Roxanne Rosen.
You can find me at Roxanne Rosen. But I just wanted to say for the Gen Zs out there that are struggling or contemplating suicide, please find the Trevor Project. I was a lifesaver for the Trevor Project for a long time. They are there for your help. There's lifeguards. They're on the phones 24 hours a day. You could call anonymously. So please find that. As for finding me, you can find me at Solar Tan on Facebook and Instagram. And, you want solar, you mentioned this show, and you're going to get a discount.
Up until a certain day.
Oh, you have to get solar, honestly, in the middle of March, or else solar's going to lose about 83% of its value.
Wow. It's amazing that I know so much about your business.
I know, isn't it?
Because we are in each other's businesses. Mara Shane.
So it's a great show tonight. No, I'm serious. It was a great
It's always a great show. Always.
Today was like above par. It was a really good one.
Did we raise the bar?
Yeah, you raised it.
Thank you.
You go. And you can find me at marashane.com. Mara_Shane on Instagram and Mara Shane on Facebook.
Thank you, Mara Shane.
Thank you.
And mad kudos to my friend, Karyl Ketchum.
Yay.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for
Yeah,
coming. I know you
pleasure.
weren't coming from the desert, but you kind of came from the desert for this, right? Kind of, maybe.
It's out here, but yeah.
And you are a bright light in this community.
Well,
I learned so much from you. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for really coming here. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being a trailblazer. And you know what? We'll be talking about you in the next 20 or 30 years for everything that you've done with this community.
Feel
And
the same
from
way
my
about
heart, I really do appreciate what you do.
feel the same way back at you.
You're welcome. Where can
Lovely
people
to be with
find
all
you?
of Oh, well, I'm not really on social media.
All right, leave her
actually.
alone. She's academia.
Cal State Fullerton.
Don't show up. It's not
and
cool.
DAP Health out in the desert, trying to create community out there and take care of the LGBTQ.
But there
folks
isn't.
out
Can
there.
I was going to ask you something. There is another community or another group that you're part of. It's the lesbian group in the valley,
Yeah,
right?
The Al Fund. The Al Fund.
The
is
Al
another
Fund.
really important organization out in the valley that's taking care of lesbians, and they've been doing that for about 12 years now. So yeah, they've got a gala coming up also next weekend.
February 25th.
Can you repeat the name of your book?
Yeah, gender identity and LGBTQ inclusion in K through 12 education.
Great.
Thanks. Yes.
Well,
I am
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Great guest.
Everyone. Hey, it's me, Gaye Ann. Find me on Instagram, QTE Brat. Facebook, me, Gaye Ann Bruno. I'm gonna look on here because I always do this because I don't remember anything. The next show is March 3rd. It's with author and writer S.P. Brown. She's amazing. We will be talking about culture clashes. She's a woman of color. She's another trailblazer. And I can't wait to have her on. She won't be in studio. I think she's calling in from New York City. So it's a labor of love that she's going to be up 3 hours later to be on the show. So we look forward to her. Thank you, Tom Esty, her publicist, for always being a supporter of the show and giving me some of the best, amazing, challenging topics with your clients. So thank you, everybody out there. Happy long weekend. I forgot it was a weekend on Monday. I mean a holiday on Monday, so it's a holiday. My friend Odalis Nanin, she's having her play still. It's Garbo's Cuban Lover, going on Sunday. Hope to see you there. Tickets are online. She was a guest 2 weeks ago. So, another way you can do it is support your community. Go to the Gay and Lesbian Center. Find out what the events are. Just keep the train moving. We just got to keep the train moving, no matter what roadblocks are in our way. And with that, have a wonderful freaking weekend. I love you guys, and as always, you know how I like to end it. Namaste. Okay, guys, cue the music. Thank you.